old garage. You know, this old garage could probably tell some stories. It's 110 years old, actually. I have some plans for it, though. We're going to bring it back to life. We're going to make it what it was always supposed to be. Someplace where I can continue to work on projects, remodel our farmhouse, and store toys and teach kids all about tools. Now, doing something like this by yourself, it takes some doing. Come with us on this journey to rebuild our garage and make it safe, watertight, and spacious enough to do all the projects we've been wanting to do. My name is Josh, and this is My Lonely Mountain. Now we're going to start with re-supporting a new back wall. So what we're going to do is start with our footing. Now I'm laying out some rebar right now, some small chunks, and I'm putting some marks on those to know how far to drive them and where to finish the concrete at. Right here you can see two marks. One mark is going to head down to the soil level, and the other is going to be a data point for me as I'm pouring concrete. Now, I actually found that the white chalk mark wasn't going to make it, so I replaced it with a small loop of electrical tape so that when it got splashed and covered with the concrete, I could still find layout. Now these little guys are called dobies, and dobies are little spacers that keep your rebar up off the soil and keep them floating in the center of the concrete you plan to pour. They come in a little set like this and you knock them apart with a hammer, so they're made out of concrete as well, and they have a little loop on them to hold onto your rebar. They're pretty inexpensive. Some guys just use river rocks. I'm a dobie guy because it keeps everything from sliding off. So, yeah, that's what those are. Now, this is the hole for the footing. And the footing on a home is not usually visible, so that's why it's much deeper underground. The footing is going to give us all the support we need for our next pour, which is our stem wall, and then eventually our 2x6 wall. Okay, now concrete mixers. I know what you guys are saying. Well, you have a concrete mixer. I searched high and low for this one. I got it for $200. An old guy had it on a farm, and he said he used it to mix his wife's potting soil. It had never had concrete in it, and it was used. You can get them at Harbor Freight on sale for around that same price. I just found this design was easier to clean. Not a huge fan of the Harbor Freight model, but they work too. Now, if you're pouring concrete in your backyard on any little project, you're going to be soaked, you're going to be dirty, you're going to be thirsty. It's actually a lot of work, and you really got to keep moving. Otherwise, you're going to be renting a jackhammer next. Now, the finish on the footing does not need to be perfect. It does not need to be broomed. It just needs to be flat because it's going to accept a second layer of concrete next. So rough is good, actually, because that allows the new concrete to adhere better. I have to be honest with you guys. My main experience with concrete work involves backing a giant concrete truck up and then doing the concrete work. So this business of mixing these small bags, running back to the mixer, dumping a little more, running back, dumping a little more, that's stuff that I do at home to save money. Commercially, a concrete truck was always what I had, and big tools and a big crew. Here we're finished up for the day, and you can see that I pushed a small piece of chamfer wood down into the concrete. That's to form a keyway, and I'm hoping that will help the stem wall connect even better to the footing so I don't get any leaks. Okay, phase two. Phase two, we're building our forms for the stem wall. Now, a lot of guys chintz on these. A lot of guys find stuff in their yard for these. I will tell you from my experience with building forms, build them strong and build them right the first time. My main principle for building forms is to build them like you would a very small wall. So I don't frame them with quite as many studs, but I do frame them out of 2x4s. I use screws. That's kind of something that's only been going on the last 20 years, is using screws. The reason I like to use them is they don't pull out, and when you go to strip your forms, you're not beating the crud out of them with a hammer and a pry bar. You just carefully remove the screws. There's nothing worse than damaging your brand new concrete because you're smashing duplex nails out of all the forms. Now, if I could clone myself, I probably would, because this stuff takes way longer than you ever think it's going to take. Don't get me wrong though, it's a total blast. Now, I borrowed that concrete vibrator from some friends, and I used it a little bit at the beginning, and I chose not to. It's just too big. It's too big of a commercial product, and it was rattling the crud out of the forms. So we went ahead and went with the old hammer tap route. I hadn't initially planned on using a bucket to scoop the concrete into this form, but I just naturally gravitated to it once I got the wheelbarrow to the side of the forms, and I think it was probably the best bet. And being a 3-gallon bucket, it was really easy to handle. So what I'm doing right now is I'm using a margin trowel. It's one of the most inexpensive masonry tools you can buy. Every guy should have one, even if you don't do masonry work, because it's like a great putty knife, a great scraper. It can be used for glue. It's really got a lot of uses. I use it to clean the forms as I go, to keep any slurry or little crumbles from getting into the pour. And then I also use it as a trowel on these narrow spaces. There we go. And the finish on this can be rough as well, because you're going to use a foam gasket. Hey YouTubers, real quick, this video is partially sponsored by Lasgo. Now Lasgo has all kinds of great construction levels for sale on Amazon. The link is in the description for your coupon code if you'd like to check this one out. I did use it to lay out siding here on our garage refresh. I'd love for you to check it out. Anyhow, thanks for watching and enjoy the rest of the video. Okay, back to business here. Just got a little pickup load of 2x6s from our local big box store. Of course, we had to sort through the whole pile to find anything worth a darn. And we're gonna get to work on framing this wall. Now I chose a 2x6 wall for this. This is 2x6, 16 on center. Some might think that's a little overkill. I'm doing that because this wall is going to have a huge point load on it, because it's going to basically pick up the whole other half of the building. It's going to have the largest span of roof rafters on the building, and it's going to be accepting roof rafters that are 2x8, 16 on center, 14 feet long. I hope you guys like Bon Jovi. Now, there's a lot of guys out there on YouTube, some of them I'm really big fans of, that do not use framing guns. And you know, that's personal choice if you want to hand drive nails. I hand drove nails for over 10 years, and I'm not going to hand drive nails anymore. So, if for those guys that are past 40 that are still banging nails, especially the guys that are using an Estwing solid metal hammer, there's another really famous YouTuber that does that. Enjoy your elbow in the retirement home. Here I have my helper Max, and I'm kind of giving him some pointers as we're sliding this thing into place. Cutting out our bottom plate, which is elevated obviously because we have concrete. Now my plan for this is French doors, and you guys might think I'm crazy. Coming out of the back of your garage, Josh, why would you do French doors? Well, the thought here was maybe One of these days I'll have a riding lawnmower or a bigger lawnmower or something that's got to go in there that's big, that's coming from the backside. So not only do I think they're going to look really nice and close to historically correct on this house, but I also think that they're going to be fully utilized for big material. Now we just got done cutting out our window. This window is going to be a side slider because I'm going to have a workbench there, and I don't want a sash window in this part of the house. This is going to be our only side slider. Here the boys are both saying bye to me. They're heading out on a trip with their mom. Okay, we're sheeted. Everything's good. Everything's nailed off. Everything's square. Now we are going with our vapor barrier, which for me is always 15-pound felt. Do not use Tyvek. You guys can get in the chat and argue it all you want. I don't use it. I have remodeled several buildings that are over 100 years old, some close to 200 years old, and whenever we pull off the siding, guess what we see fully intact and still working perfectly? Tar paper. I swear by tar paper. I built a house at the coast. There's a video about that. The guy at their lumberyard would not even sell me Tyvek. Okay. Window time. Where we're at in the Pacific Northwest right now this summer, it is 90 degrees every single day, which is not normal. It's gradually gotten worse over the last few years, but like it's going to be 90 degrees for 3 months, which is unheard of. So I am not in my normal Lonely Mountain regalia. I'm just going to be in dad mode in these videos. The reason I chose to put these light fixtures up early was because I just desperately wanted to see what they would look like. And also, I needed to get them off our kitchen table. Here's your Go laser, hard at work. This helped us with some of our siding layout, which we repurposed. And I think the laser works great. I'd recommend it to anybody. Now the pros watching this video are going to know that this is in fact asbestos siding. Now I am a contractor and a construction person, a journeyman carpenter, and I've taken many asbestos classes. This stuff is only dangerous when it's friable, and friable means when you cut it or expose dust. So when I am cutting it, which is off camera, I'm using a respirator and goggles so that I don't have any of the dust impinge my eyes, which will also take this into your bloodstream. It is perfectly fine to handle it with bare hands. Reusing this saved me about $1,000 on new siding that would mimic the asbestos siding, and it matches the house great. I think this is definitely an upgrade. Thanks for watching My Lonely Mountain, and have a good one.